I'm filmmaker and musician Alicia J. Rose, and this is the Menopunks podcast. Hi, Allison. Welcome to the Menopunks podcast.
Hi, thanks for including me. And I feel so far away from you.
Except you're in the other room. So it's a little bit weird, but we're trying to figure this out since we're so lucky to have you in Portland for a few days. And you're just down the street. So we thought it'd be fun for you to come here, get out of the house, and walk in the super hot Portland sun today.
Yeah.
Come and say hi.
Woo!
I love it. So Allison and I, we just talked for the Menopunks movie, just the other day on Wednesday. We were at Ozone Annex, Janelle, shout out to Janelle, and we had a pretty great conversation about, kind of everything, but everything involving, Menopunks sort of umbrella of concerns.
Yeah.
I thought it would be really fun to have you come on the podcast because I'm just getting it started, but have you come on, talk a little bit about sort of not just the experience of, you being in the film and you kind of putting yourself out there for us and being vulnerable to all those questions, but also, just talk about what you know and what you don't know, which I think is really interesting. And of course, you can ask me any questions that you were burning to ask that I may or may not have answers to. And then at the end, we're going to talk to my friend Nikki, who's an amazing nurse practitioner here in Portland. So that might be kind of fun. We can kind of ask her questions. But this is my dream of what the podcast will look like, where I have an amazing, incredible, talented female or non-binary trans musician who is of the menopunk age. And we talk about kind of all kinds of things, menopause and creative and life. And then we, at the end, maybe talk to someone who's an actual medical professional. So any questionable details I may have cited, we can get validation on and hear from somebody who actually studied this in school versus has watched like a gazillion videos to become radicalized hormonally as I have. So welcome to the podcast, Allison. Woo!
Woo! Awesome. Here we are. Got like this light. It's kind of like soft lighting.
I love it. It's very Hollywood 1930s. Do they have film back then? I don't know. So for people who don't necessarily know, they obviously probably know who you are, but just in case they don't know who you are, do you want to give folks kind of a brief mini summary of what your life is all about these days?
Yeah, well, I'm Allison Wolfe, and I sing in the band Bratmobile, currently, but also in the past. I've also been in some other bands like Cold Hearts and Deep Lust. Both of those are also on Kill Rock Stars, as is Bratmobile. And I also was in bands like Party Line when I lived in Washington, D.C., a band called Cool Moms when I moved to...
Moms.
Yeah. we were posers. None of us were moms. But actually, one of us is a mom now, but not me. But yeah. And then I was also in a band, Sex Stains in LA.
That's a good name. That's really good.
It's one of my faves. Yeah. And hopefully we might be doing a reunion show as a benefit against ICE, or supporting people who are really, as you know, LA is under siege, not by immigration, but by ICE and National Guard and Trumpy Wumpy. Yeah, he hates the blue cities and the blue states. But yeah, so anyways, and then I was in a band, Clicky Bitches. That was a project band with Alice Bag. And yeah, I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting. But yeah, and then and I do a podcast called I'm in the Band, not with the band, but in the band. And
I love that.
Yeah, you can find that stuff it's oddly on titled TIDAL, their YouTube channel, but I'm going to be re-releasing all those, I think, elsewhere soon.
That'll be nice. Yeah, I know it's such a mess getting anything anywhere these days. And then you've got people like Spotify who are investing in evil and, not paying artists anything anyway. So why are we putting up with it? But that's another podcast. That's not this podcast.
Actually, I do have one podcast episode that is up on Spotify because I was trying to migrate it there. But yeah, and that's with Viv Albertine. So if you want to find it, I'm in the band with Viv Albertine. Yeah, it's great. She's
Viv Slits,
awesome.
Right?
Yeah, from the Slits.
Oh my God. She wrote an amazing book that I read that's just, I mean, she's such a badass, such a proto menopunk, really.
Yeah, for real. And she
First
talks
wave.
very frankly about like I don't know, just like sex lives as you get older and dating and romance, all this kind of, she talks all open about all this stuff. So yeah, she would
I
be a
love
great.
it. Yeah, she's on my list. The people that are on my list, the list is getting longer, Allison, but you're making it shorter because you're here, which is amazing. Oh my gosh. You and I met, I think, over 30 years ago. We discovered, probably in 1991, maybe at International Pop Underground Festival. Certainly, I think in maybe 92 when you toured through San Francisco and you played at the Chameleon on Valencia, which was the venue I was booking at the age of 21. Is that what happened? Do we think it's that time frame?
I think it was Chameleon and Epicenter, and of course Gilman. So
Yeah, and Gilman. Yeah, for sure. Well, I got my hooks in early. I knew a good thing. You guys were just the funnest. I love Bratmobile. I mean, back in 1992, it was like it was the beginning of everything, right? And I felt so inspired by your energy, particularly, but also the band, and of course Molly, and just the whole vibe was so empowered and just so kind of in your face and also cute, which was delightful, having sort of that mix of sass and like you have this energy and this presence that's just so powerful and kind of like fuck you, but also with a smile, which is like a little bit cheerleader, but like so punk that, it's, I love that dissonance. I think a lot of people were like, oh, okay, I just have to accept what I'm hearing, which is like songs of defiance and protest, frankly, but done in this really poppy, fun way that like makes them super hooky and earworm. So you're like, whoa. I think that really, you guys in some ways were, one of the more accessible bands out of that era that had the clearest message, right? That was still confrontational, but maybe not like cut your dick off confrontational, which
we're more like kind of doing it with a sense of humor, also kind of poking at ourselves as well, but and implicating ourselves. I just never was good really with the more, I don't know, confrontational lyrics. I think I did it. Well, some of them are, I guess, but I guess it's more about how the personal is political and how do we kind of play these gender roles and things out on each other in our daily lives. So that was kind of more about how my songwriting went, and implicating ourselves in all of it too. Like, how do we buy into all this or perpetuate it?
I mean, but you were how old? You're 21, 22. I think we're almost exactly the same age within a few months.
Yeah.
So at the age of 21, would something happen? And then you're in band practice, you're like, fuck that guy. Like what was the process? Was it just that visceral, or were you there with like a poetry book?
I mean, I always kept like a notebook, and I'd write in it whenever I was angry or something pissed me off or just an idea came to my head. But yeah, usually it's about people, it might be about a breakup or about someone that I've been hanging out with and dissatisfaction with all that. But also things I just noticed in our scene of ways that people would treat each other and stuff like that. So yeah, it's usually like that. But Bratmobile was always a long distance band, and we still are. And yeah, so we often, and we still do this, have like one practice before playing shows. We would have one practice before recording an album, or something like. Yeah, or and maybe three tops, like before writing an album. I don't know,
My
writing
God.
songs. So yeah, it's
Are,
wild.
are you guys like sending stuff back and forth, or I mean, are you writing, are like the songs come to you kind of musically baked and then you're adding lyrics? Like what's the process?
Well, back then, I think we just waited till we were in the room together, and I guess you're just a little bit more on the ball back then. But and now we're not really writing new stuff right now,
Right.
anyways. But one thing is we're not playing with our original guitar player, Aaron Smith, who's
Right.
amazing.
Yeah.
But so we're not. We would need her to be writing songs together. So.
Right. Instead, you've got Rose, we call her the ringer. I think that Rose is the ringer.
Yeah,
But
oh, Rose is amazing. Yeah. And actually Molly and I have known Rose longer than we even knew Aaron, like actually before
whoa.
we were even a band. I mean, we were probably a
Wow.
band in theory because we have been a band in theory since like late 89. But and then we didn't play our first show until Valentine's Day, 1991.
Of course,
So
Valentine's Day. That's so Bratmobile. I feel
yeah,
like it was set. You mentioned, I remember talking to you about this a little bit the other day, but what was your first show as Bratmobile?
yeah, it was at the North Shore Surf Club, opening for Bikini Kill and Some Velvet Sidewalk in Valentine's Day, 1991.
Wow.
Calvin Johnson called and asked if we would play that show, and he really called our bluff because we were less like, well, huh? What do you mean? We're not a band. And he was like, well, you guys are always coming up to Olympia. So I grew up in Olympia, but I was going to University of Oregon in Eugene, and that's where I met Molly. So we were in Eugene at the time. And so he was like, you're always coming up from Eugene and saying like, oh, hey, we're this band, blah, 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 blah. So he was like, so come play then. So we were like, oh no. Yeah. So we had to quick write songs and get wheels to get to the show and all of that stuff we threw together somehow. And yeah, went up there
It
and
happened.
played and didn't even know if they were, are we a real band? Are these real songs? I don't know. But
I mean, do you remember like that feeling of being 21 and not knowing what the hell you were doing, but doing it anyway? Because someone says, do you want to do it? And you're like, do we say yes or no? But you know a good thing. Like you and Molly are clearly like music heads. You knew. You're like, so you want us to do what?
yeah, well, because by then grunge had already been huge in the Pacific Northwest for longer than nationwide. And we liked a lot of the bands and stuff from the Northwest and whatever, but we kind of just felt like sometimes, especially with Sub Pop, the imagery just seemed really sexist
Yeah.
and quote unquote edgy, and
Yeah.
which means sexist, I guess, usually. And so
Yeah.
we were just kind of like, I like these bands, they're fun, but we have something more to say. We may not know how to play anything, but we have more to say. And so, that was
Innocence.
figuring it out. Yeah. But yeah, at the time, but we were lucky to have role models in Olympia of non-traditional bands, like bands,
Yeah.
and you had like Mecca Normal, where it's like singer and guitar. I mean, they were a big influence on us. And Beat Happening, where it was just three people, but not that that's really that
Hmm.
different, but just not having a bassist somehow would be a big deal in a professional setting or a traditional setting. So,
But
yeah.
you didn't need it. I mean,
Well,
it was just drums, guitar, and you. That was the three. That was it at first, wasn't it? Just the three of you?
well, it was two of us at first.
It was, it was
It was just me and Molly. So it was Molly switching off usually between drums and guitar, and me singing. But on every record, or Molly would sing like one song that she'd written for each record or whatever. And I think I tried to play guitar on Girl Germs, that song. For our first show, I think I played guitar, but I couldn't sing and play at the
it's
same time,
hard.
so it
It
didn't
is
really work.
hard. No, that I think has gotten better with age. I will say, out of all the things that I personally as a musician have enjoyed playing and singing, if you do it for 30 years, it does get easier, actually. One of those things. But you're 21. I mean, I remember being 21 at the same time because we were basically the same age. And I traveled to Olympia. I think it was just later that summer of 1991. And the International Pop Underground Festival happened. And Bratmobile played that as well, right?
Yeah, we did. So, Bratmobile actually, I think is the only band that played twice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Slim Moon will have to back us up on that. We'll have to ask him.
Well, because we played the
You might know.
girl night. The Thursday night of IPU was girl night.
Ooh.
And so we played that those are in the versions that we had where it was with various people kind of coming and going. Because first we kind of started out with a lot of extra people. And then we played like a Saturday morning show or something. I can't believe it. And we were the first band
Oh my
opening for
God.
Kicking Giant and
Ooh.
Jad Fair. Um,
Great show though. Great. I love the bill.
yeah, but I'm like, what? I mean, we had to go on at 9:30 a.m. and it was
Oh
like,
my
why
God.
is there a show at this time? And why are we the opening band of that show?
I
So
mean, did they have that many bands playing IPU? They had to squeeze you into like a coffee slot? It's
I don't
so
know, but it
crazy.
felt like punishment. It felt like, oh, go stand in the corner. And so Che and I went to go get coffee and we were trying to stall the show. And when I came back, Molly and Aaron were already playing on stage. So
Oh
I had to,
no.
yeah, so I had to run and jump on stage.
Oh my God. Oh my
Yeah.
God. What drama. Well, that,
Yeah.
so for people that are listening that don't know what IPU is, because we say it so casually, it's now famous. And look, I actually have something right here.
Yeah.
In the room across from you, I have my original
Whoa,
badge.
that's
Look
so
at that. I was
cool.
just a baby bunny, just the bunniest of
Wow.
babies. I was 21 in, does it say signed by Candace Peterson, August 20 to 25, 1991. So it was indeed later that summer, almost right about time of year it is right now here in Portland in 2025. But the festival was really like, it brought so many people into one place at such a particular time in history. And I don't think anybody intended for it to become a movement per se, or that a movement would spawn from a music festival. Like, we were 21. We didn't know what the hell was going on. Like, we were just like so drawn to the energy. And I think Calvin and Candace were doing something so great with Kay. And it was just really making waves at college radio and making waves in the zine and the magazine, like, Maximum Rock and Roll, all the zines. People were trading zines at the time. There was just something going on. I think I always liken it to sort of the democratization of music, because
Yeah.
it went from thinking you had to be the Beatles, right, to being like, no, I can literally like run on stage from getting coffee and sing a song. Like, it became really accessible. But like, for you, who was like, what was the gateway band that made you think I can do this? I guess that's my question.
Bikini Kill, because, we were in the same town, or, I'm from the town that they started in. And Um, they were really welcoming and open with us, and really encouraged us to, do a fanzine, start bands, like have a voice. And they always would invite us over to hang out at their apartments to just talk about issues, like feminist issues and stuff. So, and issues that were affecting our scene. And yeah, and they were just always were encouraging other girls to do it too. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was,
So
yeah, so that was cool.
did you meet Kathleen at the International Pop Underground Festival? Or did you meet her randomly before that? Like, how did you guys know each other? Like, do you have
Yeah.
a meet cute with Kathleen Hanna?
Well, we had played earlier that year, we had played the show with them, but no, we
Right.
were friends with her and Toby before that. But it was just because we would come up to Olympia a lot, whatever, when we had long weekends and stuff like that. But I remember the first time I saw Kathleen, it was the summer of 1989. I had been an exchange student in Thailand for a year between graduating my senior year of high school and then before I started at U of O. So I remember seeing her. I think she had just started at Evergreen, or maybe she'd been there a year, and I'd see her around. She had a shaved head and she'd wear
Mhm.
like combat boots and stuff. She looked
Mhm.
really tough. And I'd see her around town. I remember seeing her on the city bus, and she always just looked super serious and intimidating.
You're like, who is that girl?
Yeah, but I was interested. I was like, what's up with her? And then I realized later in the summer when things started going on that, oh, she runs the space where most of the shows are, called Reco Muse, downtown Olympia. And then by the end of the summer I saw her playing. I don't know if they were playing a show or practicing, but it was her band Viva Knievel. So I peeked my head in when I was walking by once, and I was like, whoa, she looks so tough and scary. I loved it. And screaming. And it was like, well, this is cool. I feel like she really showed us that
Yeah.
you didn't have to be cutesy wootsy and pretty, and that actually there's a lot to be angry about.
Mm.
Um, and they really, that whole "don't let the J word jealousy kill girl love," that was a big important part of Bikini Kill's motto, was to, yeah, kind of talk to women and be like, we need to join forces, strengthen
Yeah.
numbers, not compete against each other
Yeah. So
as society
brilliant.
wants us to.
I
So
mean, Kathleen has always been so prescient, just, such clarity of mind and purpose, so young.
yeah.
And she's still now in 50 something, just as clear and just as full of purpose. And now that she seems to be on the other side of her medical issues, which I hope she is, she's coming back with a force. And just like seeing Bratmobile, I mean, for God's sake, like people, it's so amazing to have kids get to experience what we experienced in 1991 at the International Pop Underground Festival, but getting, 14-year-olds can go see Bikini Kill now, and have that experience. And even though we're all, of a certain age, the energy is still there. And, like, at least we hope it's there. And it's a powerful thing, I think, for everybody to start their story or to start their love affair with bands from that zone. So that was 91. So we're in, what year is it? 2025. So that's 34. It's a long time.
34 years ago or something.
It just, I mean, but you're like cooler than ever. And I feel like so many musicians from that era, in my opinion, are like, they're doing it, like the Softies, Jen Sprage. I mean, Menopunks is about that exact thing.
Well, and
And
L7, I mean,
oh
they're
God.
touring and playing, and they're
Oh
just,
yeah.
of course, as awesome as ever. And yeah, Bikini Kill for sure.
There's so many. I think that the list keeps getting bigger, which is kind of amazing. And I think it's partially because folks are kind of getting to that part of their lives that if they, whether or not they raise children or whatever, like they're kind of coming back around to a phase where there seems to be not only like, an audience for playing again, but like, we want to do it. We seem to have the bandwidth. And Menopunks specifically is like about that. Like, do we have the bandwidth? How do we get the bandwidth? What can we do to sort of, deal with midlife and have creativity in our lives at the same time, right? I personally, I'm in a band that I couldn't imagine I would have been in in 1991. I was like playing accordion as Miss Murgatroyd and doing all kinds of weird shit. It was awesome and I loved it, but I never would have thought, oh yeah, I'll be in a new wave band at 55 where I'm the lead singer and I'm playing synthesizer. No. But so I've kind of switched gears and gone into the band zone. But I think that, seeing bands like Bratmobile and Bikini Kill and L7 and others kind of return to form. I mean, we spoke a little bit during our interview for the film about having energy and kind of what it feels like. And so I guess let's turn the conversation over to sort of menopause and perimenopause. So thinking about midlife and sort of being women of a certain age evolved from the early 90s Riot Grrrl / indie / accordion weirdo zone. That was me. Or like more the noise scene was where I kind of was. It's hard to imagine what we would have thought of ourselves, right, in those days. But here we are in our 50s, like rocking it the fuck out, which is kind of amazing. And I think a lot with Menopunks about, we're talking to Corin Tucker from Slater-Kinney, and she was in Heavens to Betsy way back when. We're talking to Jody Bliley from Team Dresch, way back when with Hazel, even before Team Dresch, Jen Sprager from the Softies, Gillian Hanner from Calamity Jane. I mean, these are heavy hitters. Kathy Foster from Thermals. And, everybody has sort of a different perspective on how they feel or how they want to feel. And as I watch all these amazing bands return to form, like yours, Allison, Bratmobile being one of the most exciting ones to watch come back to life because you're still doing the fucking splits. Thank you. I have to wonder, like, I want to ask questions, right? Like, so how do we do it? Are you doing it? So I thought I would bring in my friend Nikki Kuehl, who is a nurse practitioner here in Portland and a menopause specialist, so that we could kind of just talk about the deal, like menopause, perimenopause, and how that really affects your quality of life, our qualities of life, especially when you're trying to like return to form as a badass musician, after 30 years. Welcome, Nikki.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Allison, I have to tell you, when I was in college at the University of Idaho in 1998, I had a radio show at the college radio station, and I used to play your 7-inch,
Yeah.
Aw,
and it was amazing. Yeah,
that's so cool. I've always wanted to have a radio show. I hope I can get
Ooh.
someday. That's my bucket list
it was
item.
super fun.
Let's manifest that. It can happen. I mean, I would listen to that all the time. I mean, you're a great DJ. So well, let's talk about energy. So Allison, what did you know about menopause before getting to menopause and perimenopause?
Nothing. Not much, because sadly, my mother died when she was my age. So she died at 55 of ovarian cancer. She was menopausal, but not for very long, I don't think. And I don't know exactly when. I started going through it at 50, so I'm guessing it was about the same time. I think I remember seeing Premarin cream around the house or something, but I don't know, and I've tried asking people, but maybe I need to ask more. So I didn't really know, but I guess it was probably 2019. It might have even been before I actually was 50, but almost 50, that I started kind of having fewer periods and noticing like, I don't know, just, kind of dryness and all this stuff, and
Woo,
feeling.
girl.
Oh, I did have a few hot flashes, and I remember being at a very air conditioned job and sweating on the tops of my arms and just being like, what the hell? And having to go into the colder part of the office really quick. That happened to me just a few times though. And so I think because my hot flashes were, infrequent and not extreme or anything, I think that when I did bring it up to my doctors, they just were like, oh, okay, well, it sounds about right. That's about how old you are, but no one ever recommended that I do hormone replacement therapy. And I kind of asked about it, but I think I was also afraid because of my mom's side of the family. And my mom had, dying of ovarian cancer. Her mother had endometrial cancer, but much later in life, and didn't die from it. Breast cancer of grandmas on both sides. One of them premenopausal breast cancer. So it's just kind of things like that. So I think with that history and discussing it at the time, I'm sure the doctors were scared. They were just like, nope, nope. If you're fine, we're fine. Like stay fine. But, and then right after that, the pandemic hit. And, when no one was really going to see doctors. And so I just kind of felt like I was left alone with it. And it wasn't till when, a lot of the restrictions were lifted, like 2 years later or something, that I was seeing doctors more regularly again. And it was even hard to get a pap smear, honestly. Like, first of all, they don't, insurance wise, they don't want to approve women having one once a year, which was what I was raised to have, because my mother started the first women's health clinic in Olympia, Washington. So she was a nurse practitioner and very feminist about her healthcare, of course. And so I would always have to really try to demand to have one every year. And I think because I was on the pill a lot of the time, I was able to. But once I wasn't on the pill and or whatever, I just kind of they don't want you to have them every year. Insurance doesn't want to cover it. And then once you stop bleeding, they're like, bye. We don't need to examine you anymore. And that was really hard. So there were a lot of times I went to the doctor and sat in the offices, and they would just wait and make me sit there and not really
Oh
talk,
my
and
God.
then maybe come talk to me. And finally I was like, they're like, well, you can have one, but you're going to have to pay out of pocket. But they'd
Oh
have
my
to go
God.
through, I'm sure they were calling member services or all this stuff. And I was just, and these are women gynecologists,
God, it's so
women, like hip,
depressing.
cool women, and I was
Ugh.
just like, what in the hell? And then finally, I even talked to my psychiatrist about it from the same, insurance group. And he was like, yeah, my wife's been having issues like that too. And he was like, I hate to recommend this, but he was like, she has found that going to a old man is, the best way to do it, because at least they believe in physical exams. And,
Maybe
and
for the wrong reasons. There's some
probably for
creepy
the
old
wrong
men, but
reason. But they were the only
Ugh.
ones who would do stuff in an old school kind of way, because I was like, I want physical exams. So it was kind of all like that. And then finally, I was talking to another, again, male doctor who I was getting my annual physical from, not my normal one. And I asked him what I should do. I was like, this is awful. I just feel put out to pasture. And he was like, don't say I said anything, but you have to say that you're in pain and then you will be seen. Like, it hurts or something. And I was like, well, there is discomfort, you know? And so I finally did that and went and saw a woman, and this is like, you know, probably 2 years in. And she was like, whoa, yeah, what, you know, and also because I hadn't been having sex because it was a pandemic and I wasn't with anyone at the time. And, you know, we're not allowed to even like be in the same room as each other. So I, you know, she was like, does sex hurt? I mean, you know, like obviously she was seeing something in there. And I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had sex in like 2 years, I guess. And so she was like, oh, she handed me a big thing of lube right away. And then
It's like, does everything come down to use lube? You'll be fine. Like,
yeah,
A glass
no,
of wine and some lube.
yeah.
no, people,
Fine.
no,
And she
Yeah.
told
no.
me about replens and all this. And but then she said, you know, you could, and I told her about my concerns about my mom and all this stuff. And she was like, well, you could go on the estrogen cream that, you know, that with suppositories or whatever. And that has absolutely no, you know, has no risk whatsoever because it's
I'm
just
so
local,
glad
regional.
she told you that,
Thank
because there's
God.
so many providers who still don't know that. You are so lucky that you got to one who knew.
Yeah. But even then, she said she'd write me a prescription and she'd forgotten to by the time I left.
God.
So I had to message her office and call and stuff for about a month before I got
Oh
it
my God.
in. And then finally I got that, and that did improve some things, but I still felt tired all the time. Like I was having insomnia, I felt tired all the time. And I just feel like the only symptoms that will get you any notice or any medication is hot flashes. But if you're not dying from hot flashes, then they just don't want to do anything. So that was hard. So finally, I just went to a doctor and I said, you know what? I actually want to try regular HRT, you know, like systemic. And it was this man, and I was kind of surprised that he didn't seem like he was like, well, okay, but just the shortest amount of time and the least whatever, you know, all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but I did say, I was like, look, I'm having horrible insomnia. And it's like, okay, maybe even if this stuff kills me, I was like, I'm going to die of not sleeping. So, I mean, so he did it, you know, but I was put on a dose that's 0.0375 or whatever, which I've been told, at least through my insurance, is a mid range. And then progesterone. And he was like, the progesterone will definitely help you sleep. That will cure the insomnia. And it's true, it did. I mean,
Yeah.
it helped a lot. Um, but you know, even that I had to the insurance wasn't approving the progesterone at first, and he had to try different brands or different generics, and finally something went through, but he had to work really hard to get it approved for me. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, ridiculous. But anyways, so, and then finally, more recently, I was kind of talking to a gynecologist. At least I can get seen now because I know exactly what to say. And I'll be like, but it's infection checks. I'm just always like, I think I have an infection. And like,
Ooh, I like that you're using infection checks to get
yeah.
proper
Yeah.
midlife care.
Well, I
I
have to
mean,
say it. I think it was actually, but it's kind of both. But yeah, but
it's a
but
good hack
then
though. I like it.
I know. And then finally they were like, well, you know what? It could be you're getting this repeated infection because of your hormones levels are too low. And she was like, we could raise it up, or you should start using the cream and the I'm using the patch. So but then that conversation never really went anywhere. But yeah, now I'm like, yeah, I want more of something. I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
have some cream left over. I've been meaning to kind of double up, but I want the system wide increase. And I need to talk to someone soon about it. But
Yeah.
I've tried to talk to my primary care doctor about it, and she's like, oh, discuss that with the gynecologist. Like, she doesn't
I
want to touch it.
mean,
This
just
is primary care. You know, before I became a menopause specialist, I did primary care for a long time. And really this is primary care. Um, the OBGYN sometimes will try to send it off to urology, primary care is sending it to the OBGYN, and nobody really wants to touch it. Everyone's still very afraid of it. We're really
Yeah.
trying to educate everyone now. The word is getting out there a little bit more, but there's still a lot of fear. I'm so happy, though, that you ended up getting your HRT. I feel like that was a big success for you. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the patch and the topical vaginal estradiol, we know now that the vaginal estrogen prevents UTIs, which is
Mm.
saving women's lives when they're older. Women die of UTIs in their 80s, in their 70s. They get these infections and they don't, it doesn't show up. The symptoms are not the same as the UTI when you were younger with like the burning and everything. And so they just don't know. And it ends up
Wow.
creating, the systemic infection and then they die.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
wild.
So it's life saving.
And, I also want to say that one time I was talking to the nurse when I was waiting for the gynecologist, and when I was perimenopausal, and she just told me just on her own, she's like, I went on the pill at the time
Mhm.
when I was peri, and that really kind of evened things out and helped me a lot. So just her recommendation, just saying that made me go, okay. So I just told the doctor, hey, yeah, I think I want to go on the pill so I don't get pregnant, or something like that. So again, just making up some excuse, even though I didn't have a partner at the time at all or anything. So,
I mean,
I
I think
mean,
we're all just trying to life hack our way to not
Yes.
suffering. It's sort of sad, but also like, I
Yeah.
mean, there shouldn't be a secret language or things you need to say to get seen. Like I was listening to some video today that how doctors would take in a midlife woman and they'd mark them WW for whiny woman because midlife care it's been so discounted since the skewed results of the WHI, the Women's Health Initiative study came out in 2002, that basically for the past 23 years, we've had no proper midlife care for women at all. We're like relegated to sort of the dusty bins of, whatever medicine was important, but then it was proven to be bad. Therefore, we don't talk about it anymore. So women are now like, they're high maintenance for a long time. That was what they were. You could complain all you wanted, but they would only give you 50 things except for HRT to make you feel better. That's why SSRIs and those are so popular, and statins and a million other drugs. But really, it's such a simple fix, which is crazy. And you shouldn't have to be figuring out a language. I mean, and I learned this too, Allison. I went through the exact same thing. And I had to, through the Kaiser system, sort of self advocate for myself. My doctor said no. And then she's like, well, let's just see how bad you feel in 6 months or a year. And I'm like, I
yeah,
don't want to feel bad for 6 more months. Like, I can't stand up. My hip hurts. I can't stand for longer than 10 minutes. That was really a problem when you're trying to practice or play or even go to a show. I mean, like, it's a
yeah,
bummer. But I learned that if I could say, just like the pain thing you learned, I learned that if you say my quality of life is suffering, that I would get seen and they might actually listen to me and I could probably ask for what I wanted, which is HRT.
yeah.
And it worked for me. But I'm curious, Nikki. So when I spoke to Allison during our interview the other day, we were talking about sort of dosage and sort of symptoms when you feel like your symptoms are coming back, and like, is it safe or is it a good idea to sort of self titrate? Like for me, I decided I'm very punk this way. I'm just going to put it out there that like, and I know that trans people take at least 20 times what we get, so it's not going to kill
Yes.
me. So I'm like, here's the deal. I'm just going to try it out because I would feel the hot flashes coming back, or would be
Mm-hmm.
achy, or I'd be sleeping badly, or sweating, all these things. And I'm like, no, she's not coming back home. She's staying away. I like to refer to menopause as my visiting horrible aunt. She's not Flo. She's like Aunt Evil. And so I was like, and I'm taking systemic, which oral versus Allison, who's taking the patch. I just took another half pill and it made a huge difference. So then I asked my doctor to up my prescription, and they did. And then I did it again like 6 months later, up to a milligram, which is where I'm at now. And I feel better than I felt all along. And I'm like, well, this is my new one. And to Kaiser's, good for them. They said yes when I came to them and said I'd like my prescription to now be 1 milligrams. But that's me. With someone like Allison, she's got the patch. I think 0.0375 from what I've heard is pretty low. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, that's for some people, that's sort of a starting point,
Yeah.
right? which when we start HRT, it really is a starting point with each person. We won't know until we circle back in, usually 6 to 8 weeks to see how you're feeling. And the right dose of HRT is usually the dose that makes your symptoms go away.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's menopause therapy, menopause hormone therapy. We can talk about optimizing your hormones, which then we look at lab values. But as far as menopause and perimenopause goes, the right dose is usually the dose that makes your symptoms go away.
Well, they acted like I could maybe go up one level, which would be 0.05, but it didn't sound like they prescribed higher than that. So that's in the patch form, that
They're
is.
just not trained,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Ooh, burn.
I mean, no, I'm not trying to throw shade.
I'm
It's
kidding.
not
I'm
their
kidding.
fault. I know it's
Yeah.
not their fault. Sometimes I get spicy about it, then I try to be compassionate because I was definitely that primary care provider who gave someone an antidepressant for a hot flash. So
Oh God.
embarrassing. I totally did it until I knew better. And so, we're just really trying to educate everyone right now because they just don't know. And they might think that it's dangerous to go higher than that. Absolutely not. You're right, Alicia. We do with trans care, we prescribe so much higher levels. We've been doing this for a long time. We know that it's safe.
It's so confusing out there, which is the other reason why I wanted to start a podcast versus waiting for a year or so for the movie to come out, because every day I have another friend who's miserable, who's like, can I find a decent doctor who will listen to me? Or, I mean, they just, they're telling me all of their symptoms. And I'm like, oh my God, for every person that might actually have figured it out, there's 100 more that have no idea what to do. And even getting on the basics. I mean, I think that's good. But Allison, like, how has your energy been? Do you feel like you feel fucking great, or are you sort of somewhere
I
in
mean,
the
I
middle?
definitely
Like,
feel better than I mean, definitely it made a difference. I felt better, but it was kind of gradual. And I still feel like sometimes a little tired and everything. But one reason I wanted to make sure I had it was because that's when we were gearing up for our first reunion shows. And I was like, oh, I can't enter this as like feeling like an old lady, I'm not saying whatever, but I was just like, oh my gosh. So it did help and it did make a difference. But mostly the insomnia was the big thing that it made a difference
yeah.
with. But yeah, I still feel a little bit tired, a little bit unmotivated, like I could use, yeah, more.
Like you could use some testosterone. Has
Oh
anyone
Oh
talked
yeah.
to you
shit.
about testosterone yet?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I want to know. I do have some questions. And I was thinking, I am actually going to go back, and I do have the same healthcare provider, by the way, as you. And I was going to ask my primary care doctor, I'm going to see for my annual physical or whatever. And I wanted to be like, can I get my hormones levels tested? But then I don't know what the values should be at and all this stuff. But yeah, I want more. So I want to know like about that and what to say and how to make sure I get this
Mm-hmm.
done and how to increase my estrogen amount. But
Mm-hmm.
also, what's the difference between patches and pills? And
Yeah.
why would
Mm.
you take one and not the other or whatever?
Good question.
So, yeah, that's a great question. So, with patches and pills for estradiol, we can really get the same levels, like blood levels, in our system for a therapeutic effect. So, they're both very effective. The main difference is when we take an oral medication, it's processed through our liver. So, there are some benefits of using the patch for some people so that it doesn't have to go through the liver. And that is usually people who have some conditions. Most of these are genetic conditions that predispose them to getting blood clots. And so we'll use the patch. We think of it as being a little safer for those people. And really, I mean, that's the main thing. And then it just comes down to preference. Like some people really don't do well with patches. They might have an allergy to the adhesive, or they just don't like having something stuck on them, or they get sweaty and it falls off. And other people don't like to remember to take a pill every day. I think that most practitioners who are prescribing menopause hormone therapies tend to start with the patch or offer the patch
Hmm.
first, just because there is that little bit of less risk there. But for your average person who doesn't have one of those genetic conditions, the oral is fine.
Personally, I think they're overprescribing patches because I am so glad I don't have the patch because I would
Hmm.
never be able to deal with that shit. Slimy
Yeah.
business, the whole adhesive thing. And I also
Hmm.
like the security of knowing exactly how much drug is going into my body when I want it to go into my body and an easy way to sort of bring it up or down. From what I've learned, like it only really stays in your body for like 24 hours. Like it goes in and out really fast. You have to kind of keep
Hmm.
that level. And the patch, it can go, you like feel good, then it wanes, 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 wanes. So there's no real way to like make it
Right.
be as sort of consistent
So
as the pill.
if we do use the patch, we like to use the twice a week patch because you're
Oh,
getting more steady levels than, right, if you're putting it on twice a week, you're not going to get that decline that Alicia was just talking about, where if you leave that patch on for a whole week, by the end, it's kind of,
yeah.
tapering off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So oral
I
is, yeah,
I mean,
and usually insurance covers it better, and it's cheaper if you buy the generic. Pills are, you know, estradiol, so bioidentical estradiol and progesterone have been around forever. They're generic. You
yeah,
can get them at any pharmacy and they
cheap,
are cheap,
cheap,
especially
cheap,
if you
cheap.
have like a good RX coupon. I mean, you're talking a couple dollars a month for these things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
even
cheapest.
if
I
you
mean,
don't have insurance, or if your insurance doesn't cover them, they should not be, like busting the bank.
I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
And that's with the patches or with the pills or with both?
Pills.
Pills.
Pills are
Okay.
cheaper.
patches are
Yeah.
expensive. I mean, I keep hearing of friends getting
Hmm.
charged so much money, or the one that
Yes.
they was covered is gone and they can't live without it for a week. So they've got to pay for the one that's in stock, and it was like $200. I mean, I love generic drugs. I'm not like a druggie. I'm not a pill popper, though. I guess maybe I am, but I'm an ADHD person, so I forget everything. But I can handle in the morning taking my 4 pills, and that's just what I do. Right? It's much easier in some ways than having to deal with the patch, and then I don't like, I love the simplicity of the generic, and the patch thing. It feels messy to me. And I don't know, like so many of my friends, that's the only option they get because it's slightly less dangerous. But the danger element is bullshit, as we know. So like,
Mhm.
unless you
Yeah.
really have a genetic contraindication, you should be able to try the pill. There's no reason you shouldn't. So I personally think it's an easier fix. And it also is, there's other benefits, like it affects your cholesterol in a good way. And I believe there's what else is like a benefit from the pill versus the patch? Can you explain that?
Well, there are some studies that showed it increased the serum levels higher with the pill. So getting more of those long-term benefits, um, protection from osteoporosis, and then, we have some studies that are showing that it could help with protection from heart disease and protection from dementia. Yeah.
You think
And the
pill
pill form is
versus
better than the patch with that,
Well,
or
I mean, so I can't say that the pill is better when it comes to, because we do have studies that show that the serum levels from the patch are good too. I did, I did take one class where the expert teaching it, swore up and down that the pill was the only way to go and we were going to get much better benefits from the pill. But then I took another class from another expert and they said, oh, the patch is just as beneficial. When I looked at everything and digested it, I kind of came up to the conclusion that they're both pretty good. They're both good. And
yeah.
it's really going to be a personal preference for what the person wants to take.
Well, and also maybe dosage. I think that's something I keep
Well,
hearing about, that there's
yeah,
a
more
certain
flexible.
dosage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're at, I heard something, this, tell me if I'm wrong, but that if you're basically at like, you don't really get the effects for countering osteopenia or even protecting and building bone until you're at 0.05. That's
Yeah,
something that
you
I
have
heard.
to be on a higher patch for that. And that's where I was talking about that's when the checking the blood levels comes into play,
okay.
where we're looking at, do we have a good enough amount of this in our system to protect our bones, to protect our brain, our
And
heart?
how do we know what that amount should be? Like you can just look it
Right.
up online.
Yeah. So it sort of depends on the lab that you're using. Some different labs will have different ranges, but in general, we have, um, numbers that we look for.
But I've heard from my
And different
doctor,
providers look for
yeah,
different numbers. Yeah. What did she say, Alicia?
Well, I was just going to say that, like, some of the other doctors we're working with the film say that, yes, you can do your labs and there's definitely interesting information, some stuff that's important, but ultimately it's really like prescriptions should be symptom based in terms of the level of what you're getting. But the base, this is something I've heard, so like symptoms versus labs, it's a whole debate.
It is.
But that like, if you can tolerate, at least 0.05, you will get greater benefits, period. So
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with, like, you could be on 0.0375. That's going to be good for hot flashes or a few other things. But you, as a 55-year-old woman, are not necessarily going to get the benefits of, building bone, countering osteoporosis or osteopenia, potentially like brain health, cardiovascular health. There's things that are in estrogen and in those higher doses that are literally like the building blocks of our regenerative bodies. And so they have to be at a certain level in order to really get those benefits. Am I correct in understanding that?
That's correct. And so the difference is between menopause hormone therapy, where we are treating symptoms, and then there's hormone optimization, where we are going for those long-term protective benefits. Yeah. And so there are providers that simply, they just don't look at labs. They're treating the symptoms. That's fine. But in order to really know if we're getting those benefits, we really do need to take a peek at the blood work at some point and make sure those levels are where we want them to be.
Okay.
Interesting. Are you taking notes, Allison?
Yeah,
I know. And
I
so
have to know what to say to my doctor when I go
right.
in.
And here's the thing, like when you first start it, like having labs done before, I don't do that with everybody, unless someone really wants it. Like if someone wants labs, I'm going to do their labs, right? Because they want it, and why not? And then we can look at everything and I can explain it to them. But usually, if they're not asking me for labs right away, we'll start the medication first. We'll start the hormone first. We'll let it go 6 to 8 weeks. And then we want to check the labs to see where they're at with the medication on board, because that's the best information. That's going to tell us if we're in that therapeutic range, if we're in that protective range, if we need to adjust anything.
Do you think I should ask? Well, I definitely want to ask for 0.05 at least, or do you think I should ask for more than that?
I think going up that step is good and seeing how you feel. If you take too big of a jump especially with estradiol, we can get some side effects like breast tenderness, fluid retention. But if you take those steps and then let your body get used to it,
You want it to be gradual.
yeah.
Okay.
But I think if you went up to the next step and then, like I said, use it for a month and a half, 2 months, and then ask to have your levels checked.
That's interesting. Or you could even decide to switch to the pill and still on the pill for 0.05 and see if that makes even more of a difference, because it becomes truly more systemic going through different parts of your body. It's really a personal choice. No, there's no right or wrong. I think that understanding, though, that 0.05 is sort of where the really good long-term stuff comes into play is really interesting. When I found that out, I was like, oh, okay. Because some people are put on like 0.0175 and I'm like, what could possibly be getting better for you?
And some women will respond to that and their hot flashes will get better. That's what gets better is, their hot flashes.
There's so much more to treat than hot flashes, and that's the part that I think is the issue.
People don't know. Yeah. So, Allison, I can give you some numbers that are just sort of general numbers to look for our 3 main sex hormones that we treat.
Yeah.
So
I write
for
them down now.
estradiol, I know.
Write them down.
And different people, I will tell you, different people are going to have different opinions of this, but I'm kind of going by all the people who I have learned from and then just my personal experience. So with estradiol, I've heard most people say that you want to be around 100. 100 or above.
100,
what's the range?
What does that mean?
So 100. That is,
if you get tested, you mean?
If you get, that's for your labs, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the range
this is
from
the
what
lab
to what?
work.
What's the range
they'll
in theory?
say so I have written down 75 to 100, but I just recently heard someone say it really needs to be 100 to 120. So see, this is where I'm saying there are people that are just going to have different, opinions about this.
So estradiol 100.
Estradiol, I would say 100. Yeah, is usually what I'm looking for.
And 100 means that you're in a good zone. You're getting what you need.
That would be the therapeutic bone protection zone. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how much you
Yeah.
need in your system to be in that space. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
progesterone you always take the 100 milligrams at night, right?
No, I have
Wait, what?
I have patients taking way more than that. So again, it depends on your symptoms. So, and for most people, progesterone is like that sleep and calming hormone. So it's like the irritability, the anxiety, and the poor sleep. So, um, I have people take, I hate to even say the number, but I have people taking 3, 4, 5 times the amount that you
Wow.
are because 100, 200 just didn't touch them as far as
What?
their sleep.
That's so interesting. You know, I take it in the morning, first of all, which everyone thinks I'm crazy to do it, but
Oh,
it
wow.
doesn't, I
It
get
doesn't
zero.
have that effect on you.
No, and it might be because I have like weird rabbit brain that constantly
Yeah.
goes blip, 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 blip. But it really, no, like I don't get any of that. And I do like to be mellow though. So maybe it helps me mellow out just a little bit. It like
It
takes the
might,
edge off my ADHD because I'm not on ADHD meds, right?
yeah.
But so if you were to increase your dose, I'm curious about this. If you were to increase your dose from the standard, which everybody seems to get, which is 100 milligrams of micronized progesterone,
Mm-hmm.
what potentially would be the effects, and what would be me thinking, oh, I'm actually not getting a benefit from this? Like, what does if you're
You're
taking it?
anxious, you're irritable, you're anxious all the time, you're irritable, you're on edge.
Okay.
Um, right? Those would be the daytime symptoms since you're
Okay,
not getting the nighttime symptoms. For people who take it before bed, it would be I'm still waking up throughout the night. I wake up and it takes me an hour to get back to sleep. If you do wake up
That is
during the
kind of
night when
scary
you're
to
taking
happen. Yeah.
progesterone, you should fall right back asleep. You should just wake up, go, oh, I'm awake, it goes back off to sleep, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be ideal.
Okay.
So when I prescribe progesterone, and of course, I can't give medical advice to anyone except my own patients, so you need to ask your own prescriber about this. But I tell them if one doesn't cut it, and you're going to know that night, 1 or 2 nights, like you don't need to go any further than that. This is like an immediate thing for the sleep. Um, then just take 2.
Oh,
And if that doesn't work, then just take 3. And,
it's
you
an
know,
idea.
but I'm also meeting with my patients, talking to them like every 2 weeks. They can text me between appointments, right? So I think another part of this is hormones are tricky and it's very different for each person. And so having someone who you can reach out to who's going to be responsive, right? Because a visit every 6 to 8 weeks, in my opinion, when you're just starting hormones, really isn't going to cut it. You're going
hmm
to lose people. People are going to stop taking it because they're going to be frustrated because, ooh, it's not working, or I have this weird side effect.
Yeah.
So, anyway, sorry. What was your question, Allison?
Well, so then therefore, if I get my labs done, what would be the progesterone level that should be
Mm-hmm.
present about?
10.
10?
10. Okay,
Mm,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're looking for, of 10 or above. We want it to be greater than 10.
Okay.
Ooh,
So
I want
10.
my
Yeah.
labs done now. I'm like, I have so many. I need
Yeah.
answers because I
And
wonder if
what
I could take progesterone at night too. I'm like, oh, that could be interesting.
and what about
Sorry, go on.
testosterone? What should our
Yeah,
testosterone level
it should
be?
be greater than 50. For women around, 50 is usually good for women. Symptom wise. And so testosterone is our energy, our motivation, our mental clarity. You hear about people, talking about brain fog, and the estrogen helps with that too. We have estrogen receptors on every organ in our body. It's
Yeah.
just
I want to try me
testosterone.
So,
some of that.
Yeah.
hey, there's cat hair on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Anyway,
It's always done as a gel, the testosterone. And how do
No.
I get that? How do I get my doctor to give me that?
and Allison, they have something called Scream Cream that I've heard about, which is very
Yes.
exciting. So I want to hear about that too. Like, yeah, what are the different forms, and like,
Right.
how do we get it? What is sort of necessary to get it, and patriarchally stupid in order to get
Yes.
the thing we
I'm
need
going
to
to tell
get?
you, there's only one way to get testosterone from like a normie provider.
Okay.
And that is to say that you have no sex drive. So it's
Boo.
female sexual
Okay.
hypoarousal disorder. FSAD is what we call it. That's the diagnosis that they give you, and that is the only diagnosis that is approved for females to get a testosterone prescription. If you just say I have low energy or anything like that, you're not going to get it unless you come to a menopause specialist. But if you say that you have no libido, that you don't even think about sex, that you don't want to have sex, then testosterone. So testosterone also helps with sex drive, right? And maintaining our muscle mass. It prevents muscle wasting, or it helps prevent muscle wasting, which is one of the most important things for aging is, staying strong. Yeah.
So we have to tell them that we have no libido, which if for at least like hetero-ish people, that means that the dude is not getting laid. And so that is
So
why
they care
it's
about
like,
that.
That's why we're seeing divorce in
yeah,
middle age. Because women they feel horrible, they're having hot flashes, they're waking up just drenched in sweat, they're not sleeping, they're irritable, and they don't care about sex because it's just not on their radar with all this other stuff going on. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I will say with the testosterone, because I have it, as I just showed everybody, and I've been kind of laying back because I was feeling really roided out. Like I could really feel it. Like the prescription, the amount they prescribed was a lot, at least from what I discovered. It was like a dime size amount, which is like, I've never felt this way. I felt like kind of Hulk Hogan-y. Like I could have picked up a truck and like pushed it over my cat. I mean, maybe like a Tonka truck, but still like, you know, I felt really like, ooh, but then after doing it for a little while, I was like, this is too much. Like, I don't feel like myself. So I took it way back down to like, just a pea size. And that was better, but now I've kind of laid off it because I got married, did all the stuff that I wanted to have my chill. I realized it was making me lose my chill, like really. But I also think that maybe for me, I got off of medroxyprogestin acetate, which I didn't even realize wasn't the bioidentical version. And in March or April, I got on micronized progesterone, and I've been feeling way more balanced. Like that was the big game change for me. So when I got that prescription, my level was like 17, I think, or something like that. It was super low. Um, and I don't know what it is now. I haven't had it checked again. Or it was a little bit higher, I think, after that, but it's not up at 50, that's for sure. So it can do other things too. And I think it's just sort of the gel I've heard is kind of more harsh and intense than sort of the compounded creams. Like there's a scream cream I keep hearing about, which is a combination, right, of like estradiol and testosterone, but in a form that you can put right on your petunia. Is this correct?
Yes. And that one is, I was going to look it up. It is, yeah, it depends on where you're getting it from, but it usually has this whole concoction that helps make you feel more stimulated and have
I want that.
orgasms. And yeah,
I want that.
yes, yes,
I think that sounds exciting.
yeah, yeah.
So we need
But
some more
so
answers.
the only testosterone that we can get from a regular pharmacy, like if you went to your CVS, your Target, your Walmart, is the testosterone gel for men. There's not even a female version of testosterone that is FDA approved in
So
2025.
ridiculous.
So they prescribe the men's version, the gel, and then we just have to use 1/10 of
Mm.
the male dose. And sometimes it comes in these little like ketchup packets. And
Oh
a
God,
man
I've
would
seen
use one
that.
whole packet a day. And a women,
Wow.
they tell you to use 1/10 of that packet a day. So dosing is a little iffy. There's also, you can get, so I take oral testosterone because the provider who I work with orders it from a compounding pharmacy. Now, he started me on this when I was still learning about all the hormone stuff. And so the thing about oral testosterone, even though it sounds really great, is your liver really eats it up. So you have to take a
Mm.
huge dose to get any effect, and then it's expensive. So I am kind of paying out the nose for this. And but I just really like taking the pill, so it's worth it to
Yeah.
me. I'm like, I will pay for
Yeah.
this. The version that I prescribe to my patients and that I like for my people is actually a vaginal cream. And it
Oh.
comes in this little dispenser, and we say use 1 click a day. And so 1 click is you turn this little button and a little bit plops out, and it's about maybe a quarter or a half of the size of a pea. It's so
Oh,
tiny. And we just like
tiny.
rub it into the labia. It doesn't even have to be
Mm.
inside, just on where it turns like the inner labia, where it's like more
Yeah.
absorption is happening there.
Yeah.
And you just massage it in once a day, and we get really good serum levels for that. And it helps tone the pelvic floor muscles as well, which is
Ooh, you
really
guys
Finding.
nice.
want
Yes.
that.
So I'm a
Gotta
fan of
tone
that, but
that.
that does, it comes from a compounding pharmacy, and it is about it ends up being about $20 a month. $25, $30 a month.
So like that's
um,
not like
for that.
insurance doesn't cover that. You just
Yeah, insurance will not cover that. Insurance is not going to cover testosterone, even if you have that diagnosis.
It
It would
won't
be
even
rare.
cover the gel if I have the
I mean,
diagnosis.
I'm on Kaiser. If you're on Kaiser, it did cover it.
It did
I
cover
had,
it? Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
I had a
Well, they might,
prescription
yeah,
plan.
then,
I mean, I still paid for X amount of it, but
right.
it was like maybe
They
$50
covered part of
for.
it.
I mean, I
Okay.
don't know what it's supposed to cost, so maybe they didn't cover it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't hundreds of dollars. It was like $50 for 8
Good.
tubes, and I've only maybe
Okay.
used like
Oh my
one
gosh. And
tube.
yeah, those are gonna last you forever.
Well, then I have a question. Could I mix
Mhm.
this with my vag cream and make my own scream cream, or is the gel kind of fundamentally different than the cream? Could I be my own
Let me do
compounding
some
pharmacy?
research. Let me do some compounding research for you.
Like, can
Because
I
I'm
gel up
honest,
my V cream? Let's
I'm
get to
trying to get more
this.
information. So, you'd think I know a lot about this scream cream, but I don't.
I mean, just the name Scream Cream. I
It,
just want answers. I want to know if I
yeah.
can DIY Scream
So
Cream because that sounds like
apparently
fun.
men can use it for erections as well.
Ooh, just like rubbing it right on the schmecky
Yeah.
dacky.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
Okay.
fascinating. We're learning so
yeah,
much
I
today.
know.
I'm
I'm like
trying to
writing it
find
all
something
down.
that's going to actually, I'm trying to find something that's going to tell me the ingredients. I'm going to log into one of my compounding pharmacies and see if I can look it up and see if they have it, but I can tell you exactly what's in it.
Mine just says alcohol 85% and then contains 50 milligrams of testosterone per 5-gram tube. That's what this says.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just to give you some, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I tried putting it in different places. That helped a little bit. When I was putting it on the back of my leg, I was like, I am feeling so like aggro. What the?
Yeah, I would say like
It was,
half a pea size for
I'm getting, yeah,
you're
just
probably just extra sensitive to it as well.
maybe, or
Like you
maybe,
have
yeah.
I want to
how
try
you can
it.
take progesterone in the morning. You're
I'm gonna
one
throw
of
it to
those
you.
people where everything is the opposite. You probably take Benadryl and then get really excited instead of falling asleep.
Wait, I don't know where it went. Oh, there. Okay.
We're just revealing that we're in the same place now.
Yeah.
Now Allison has the testosterone gel. Be careful. I didn't tell you to do anything.
Okay, I won't do anything yet.
Okay. So the testosterone thing, I don't know if you know this, Allison, but it's like a whole debate right now. It's massive because
Ooh,
wait, what? What's the ooh?
Scream Cream has Viagra in it.
What?
Yes,
What is it called? Scream cream?
Scream Cream. So
Scream cream?
yeah,
Like you're screaming
like
like a punk rock
screaming, like
scream.
it's so it
Where do you
actually
get
does not have
that?
any testosterone. It comes from a compounding pharmacy.
Okay, oh, that's what you were talking about.
But it
Okay.
has a
Oh,
few different things in it. But the main thing is sildenafil, which is Viagra.
wait a
Yeah,
second. Hold the phone. So is there testosterone in
it's
it at all?
topical. No, it's topical.
Oh,
It's basically topical Viagra.
but is it anything but? Is it there any estradiol or testosterone? Or
No,
it's
there are
simply
no
just
hormones in it. There are no hormones.
Oh,
well, you
okay.
might want to look again just to see because I've heard that it was like half and half, but maybe there's a different kind, or
Ooh,
that's just
there's also theophylline in it, which is used to treat COPD because it's a bronchodilator. So it basically
Ooh.
helps things like open up.
Oh, I like all of this conversation. We need more options.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, I want to talk more about Scream Cream. Maybe another
Okay.
episode. We'll have a whole
Yeah.
Scream
We'll have to have
Cream
a
deep
Scream
dive.
Cream episode. Yes, you can
Because
just
I
cut
have
all
so
this
many
out.
questions. No. I think people want to know about Scream Cream because look, there's so few things that even exist for women to enhance their sexual pleasure. I mean, there's toys and there's sort of random over the counter yada yadas that could burn a hole in your pussy, but there's not necessarily something that's prescribed like,
Right.
like Scream Cream or even testosterone, which, we're saying the only thing
We
you can
need
get it
all the
for.
things.
Yeah,
We
like,
need the estradiol, the progesterone, the testosterone, the vaginal estradiol cream, the Scream Cream.
So,
Like,
but this stuff you just rub it into your skin.
yeah.
Right.
what is that?
It's what
That's
she
the
just
gel.
Oh yeah, yes, yep. That you just rub in. On that, I think people usually do it like on the inner thigh or inner arm.
Yeah, you can do. There's like people say to switch it
Yeah,
up from spot to
yeah.
spot.
And
But
how
I
much
mean,
do you put on? I'm
well,
like,
we'll come back. Let's pea size or less. I'm gonna maybe do like a quarter of a pea because it really makes me kooky crazy. But
put it on now? No.
I'm not. Nobody's telling you can, but you could do a live demonstration. Nobody's going to stop you. But
I see if I get all like.
let's see if you feel roidy. I mean, I didn't
Okay.
tell you to do this. You tell everybody this is of your own volition.
So like that much?
We're definitely not peer pressuring you.
We're not peer pressure. Yes, but okay, yes.
Like
There you
that
go.
much,
Put
or
it
is
on.
that too much?
Well, you've got it on your finger, so I think you try it.
It has
Put
to
it
go
on the
somewhere,
back.
right? Okay.
Put it on the underside of your arm, maybe like there,
Wait, like there?
near your pit. Near
No.
your pit.
There?
Yeah.
Like there?
Here.
Yeah. Show
yeah.
us your pit. Wait, bring your pit closer to the center. Okay.
There you
And kind
So
of go
this
like
is a
that?
live. This is an incredible
Okay,
live
so
demonstration.
Have
Oh
you
my
seen
God,
that
it's so
trend on
hardcore. I love
Instagram
it.
that's show me your patch? Have you
Yeah.
seen that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right. So this
no.
is show me your tea.
Okay, yes. Show me your teeth. Okay.
We're gonna start a new.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh,
we're
I'm
going to see how you
excited
feel.
to try this. Okay.
Okay, now you should go wash your hands actually, because if you touch stuff, there will be testosterone on everything. So go wash your hands for a quick second and take your headphones off and.
Oh, I won't.
Or
touch
just
anything.
don't touch anything.
I
Don't
won't
yeah,
touch
don't pet your
anything.
cat. Don't pet your dog.
Hold on, here comes the cat. Don't. She wants it. Don't touch the pussy. I mean the cat. Don't.
So you would do this like once a day? Oh, okay.
Yeah, topical testosterone is once a day. Yeah.
Okay.
And it is an energy thing. It's kind of incredible. I mean, I am already like so high key that everything works opposite with me anyway.
When you started testosterone, how long did it take for you to feel the effects? Because I'm telling my patients it's going to take 2 months.
No, I would say that day. 100%.
Whoa.
I
So
felt
you
like,
are very.
well, so I had a very a similar experience with estradiol actually. At the beginning, I decided to take 2 pills when I was on, at some point, it was too soon before I kind of slowly worked up. And I felt really like again, sort of like I could feel this intense kind of energy. And I was like, this is wild. And the testosterone actually was very similar to that. And I just like immediately I felt like I feel it. And I'm not the only one. My friend, a good friend of mine has testosterone. And she's like, I don't tell my doctor, but I feel a rush.
Wow.
So I was like, ooh, okay. Yeah. And I was like, I do too. It's kind of, and like to the point where I was doing it and I was like, this is good. It would wear off. It would chill out after a minute or two.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I was like, I need to be chill. So anyway, testosterone may not be for everybody, but it is sort of the like white whale of HRT right now because representing, very getting ready to sticky. Because I think that, we are still struggling with figuring out dosage, right? Like I'm at 1 milligrams now of estradiol. I feel great. I'm taking my psychedelic progesterone in the morning. But maybe I could take it at night because my sleep is not perfect. There's definitely some stuff going on. But it doesn't really affect me in any psychedelic way. Like I was told by Dr. Bob Langer, he was involved in the WHI. He was one of the investigators, and he was a person that tested micronized progesterone in the beginning of when it came out. He had a study called the PEPI study. And he's like, well, when we first discovered micronized progesterone, we had to tell people to take it at night because they were like, if they took it in the morning, they would hallucinate. I was like,
You're like, sounds good. I'm going to take mine in
the
morning.
Sign me up, taking it in the morning. That's how I like to roll. I like to keep it creative. But no, I just don't. I'm already maybe kind of psychedelic in general, but it does not make me feel that way at all. In fact, it makes me feel kind of more balanced. My ADHD feels less harried, weirdly. So for me, it made a huge difference, I think, to take it in the morning. I wanted those effects. I mean, I didn't mean to do that. I just didn't know any better. And that's sort of how I started taking it. And I have no complaints because it hasn't made me sleepy at all. In fact, it makes me feel like I'm finding my hyperfocus again in a good way. And I'm scaring myself again with my hyperfocus, which is fantastic. At least in terms of making a movie and trying to have a career. And with, before I was pinging, before I was optimized, or, what I call hormonal optimization is more like HRT optimization, but there are other hormones. But yeah, so there's a whole frontier of like, what does testosterone do and how can we make sure that we are feeling the best we can feel? And I think that is, when Allison and I were talking, it was kind of like, well, you started on hormones because you're like, oh my God, we're going to play this big show. And you had risks to consider though, which was interesting. And I hear from a lot of friends who have a history of breast cancer and a history of ovarian cancer and a history of all kinds of cancers, but they don't themselves have cancer or have even had cancer. And so they're worried that that's taking a step toward the inevitable of dying from cancer. Like literally, this is what I hear from my friends, even if they don't have it. And Nikki, I'd love for you to maybe talk about that, because Allison and we spoke about this, and Nikki happens to have a really unique history with cancer and understanding hormone therapy through that lens. Can you just kind of give us the brief how-to on that, Nikki?
Yeah. So, basically I ended up with breast cancer at age 46. It was a triple positive, so positive to estradiol and to progesterone. And it was a very aggressive form, but I caught it early. I went through chemo, radiation surgery, the whole thing. I'm totally clear, healthy now, no recurrence at this point. Um, and I was basically told, no, like you will never be able to touch hormones. You cannot have
Wow.
hormones, right? Like, and that's the answer. And that's the answer, unfortunately, to a lot of people who even have a family history. But what I learned is that it is not a hard no. It is not like a hard contraindication. It is more about you need to make an informed decision. So it's like weighing the risks versus the benefits. And in my situation, even though I had had an aggressive type of cancer, and everyone's situation is different, so everyone has to have their conversation with their expert. But in my situation, it was more likely that drinking alcohol or being overweight would cause a recurrence of breast cancer than HRT would. So I was like, well, I am miserable, I am not living a happy life right
Yeah.
now. And I was kind of like what you said, Allison, like if this is going to kill me, fine, let it take me out because I'm going to live happy until I die.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's not going to kill me. And what I ended up talking about with my provider is that my body is going to be in much better shape to deal with a cancer if I happen to have a recurrence with the HRT on board. And the other thing is that the HRT is not going to cause my breast cancer. HRT does not cause breast cancer. It does not. We know
Snaps,
this.
snaps, snaps,
We know
snaps.
this from science. But
But I
what
think people
HRT
don't
will
talk
do,
about that.
they don't talk about it. But what HRT will do is if you're like me and you end up with a hormone positive cancer, it will make it grow faster. Well, for me, I just get my annual mammogram. Then if something is growing, we're going to catch it early because it's going to get bigger faster, right? So I felt like for me, the benefits outweighed the risks. And I started taking HRT and I feel, better than I did in my 30s, like better than I did before cancer and before menopause. Yeah. So, it's different for each person.
So for someone like Allison who has a
Hmm.
history of those things but no personal history, what would
Right.
you say?
Well, then it's that conversation with, and especially, you may not know exactly what type of breast cancer, your mom had. Um,
It was
Oh,
my
it would be look.
grandmother's.
Oh, it was your
yeah.
grandmother. Oh,
It
okay. So it
was
wasn't
both
even your mom.
grandmothers, but
Well, then
one,
your mom had the ovarian
yeah,
cancer. So, we would talk about, did anyone get tested for, a genetic cause for these cancers?
I have
Did
been
anyone, you
tested.
haven't?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
have the
You don't
BRCA1 or
have.
2. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, that conversation would probably look like similar to what my conversation looked like with my provider. So, look, this is what could happen if you're on HRT and a cancer happens to develop, right? And these are the risks, but they're
But
so, yeah.
that's hearing that though, like that HRT doesn't cause breast cancer is like doctors think it does, or they think it
I
might.
still have people who come to me and they asked for HRT and their doctor told them it will cause cancer.
I
So
mean,
we
this
just,
is really
oh,
this is
it's,
the scourge of women's healthcare because
mhm.
it does not cause breast cancer. In fact, like modern forms of hormone replacement I mean, it guards you against breast
Yes,
cancer. The stats
yes.
like 23%.
I should clarify and say bioidentical estradiol and micronized progesterone do not cause breast cancer. We have seen the progestins, which are the synthetic progesterones,
I should
may
see
have,
what I'm on.
there is evidence that those may have contributed to breast cancer. And also, um, we used to use Premarin for the
Or
estradiol.
Siren.
Yes, and that's a little different too. So, but
And
we don't,
that like that's been known to cause some things or
well,
maybe or potentially
yeah.
Premarin.
I mean, all of this came from the Women's Health Initiative study that started in 1993, stopped sort of out of the blue in 2002. Results were released that really broadly vilified all hormone therapy as causing breast cancer, but we know so much more now, and so many people have tried to change the tide on this sort of old thinking and old press on HRT. And the truth is now we're on these incredible plant derived formulations that are really mimicking what we already have inside our bodies. They aren't making it difficult, they're making it better for us. And so, we have to, like, this is really why, I mean, not to bring it to Menopunks, but to bring it to Menopunks, this is literally why we're making this film, is to set a new baseline of like truth about hormone replacement therapy and like the tools for self-advocacy, which you're literally taking notes on right now. And it just is so incredibly mind-blowing to me that like we are under 5% of all menopausal, perimenopausal age are getting hormone replacement therapy, where in 2002, when the results came out from the WHI, it was 40% of women. And so I think we don't even really have the perspective of like what we lost. And so I think, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, and your approach to this is like mine. I mean, it's activism, right? We have to re-educate everyone. We have to teach women how to go about, getting these things in the meantime until everyone is educated. And it's, yeah, I mean, I started my clinic because I said it was basically to take down the patriarchy, right? Because we just need more
Yay.
women on HRT, so that they could be strong and sharp and powerful. These women, we are at the wisest age in our lives. We have all of this experience. We are the smartest we've ever been, the most powerful that we've ever been, and then our bodies just start to sort of disintegrate because our hormones go away, and we're kind of sent out to pasture. Like, we just become invisible, and everybody just thinks, oh, that crazy old lady doesn't know what she's talking about. I mean, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
But it's an old narrative. And I think that
Yes,
like
it
Gen
is.
X is way cooler than that. Allison, seeing you
Yes.
do the splits on stage, I find to be consistently inspiring. I would like to point out, I will never do the splits. I don't ever think I'm going to do the splits, because I think you were a gymnast. Am I correct in remembering
Yeah,
that?
I was when I was
So,
young.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a little maybe muscle memory that helps with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, we are a generation that will not accept no for an answer. And I think that it's interesting when I talk to you, Nikki, or I talk to you, Allison, and we want to feel good. Like, I feel like we deserve to feel good. We deserve to not be told how to feel at all. We deserve to not be
Yeah.
told what to do with our bodies at fucking all. We deserve to be autonomous, the powerful, autonomous human beings that we are. And I'm going to ask you guys sort of to close up this conversation, though I would keep talking for like 3 hours, but nobody would listen. I would like to hear from both of you in terms of like, and I asked this question to you during our interview for the film, Allison, but like, I would love to hear from you also, Nikki. Like, what would the world look like if women were encouraged and actively were all hormonally optimizing, able to seek and access HRT and hormonal optimization? What would the world look like, Allison, to you?
I just think about like like a lot of older women I know, and like, but I mean, I guess in the punk world we're fortunate that a lot of people do kind of follow these non-traditional paths and things, so they do seem like they're doing cool stuff and whatever. But I mean, I think having like entire generations of women having energy to do whatever they want and to be creative and to not always feel like there's like some reason they have to stay home or have an ailment or whatever. I think it would, I don't know, maybe there'd be more women leaders instead of this orange cheetah thing going on, like whatever.
God.
I don't know.
Oh, this shit would not be going down.
What do
Yeah.
you think, Nikki? What's your
Well, I
perspective
just
on
think
it?
we would have more women in positions of power because, like Allison said, they would have energy, they would have mental clarity, they would have the motivation. Like, we are just getting started. Like, I don't ever feel like I'm like coming to the end of anything. I'm always feeling like there's something new. What's the next thing, right? And I love that. And that's how I want it to be for the rest of my life. I'm not going to go off into some retirement where I'm just like, not doing anything fun or cool or creative, right? It's not going to
Yeah.
happen. And I think if all women had this energy and they could do the things that they want to do, the world would just be, I think it would be a much more peaceful place. I think we would have more compassion. We would take care of each other.
Yeah.
Everyone would be more well taken care of
I mean,
if
I
women had
can't,
the energy. Yeah.
right. And I can't help but look at this, like you said, Orange Cheeto, this like fascist, stupid idiocracy, ridiculousness. They're just like clearly like they don't deserve the keys to the car. Like we're at a point with Gen X. Like I look around, I'm looking for us. There's like Pete and a few others that are there, but like really, there's not a lot of us. And we are the
Mm-mm.
ones that are really in the pole position now. And so like,
Mm-hmm.
we have to together as a generation help each other and like turn this whisper network, which is how we've heard of anything in the first place, all of us probably individually, we need to turn it into like a raging punk rock scream where not just scream cream, although I will scream for that. But I will, there's going to be an episode about this, but we really have to band together to amplify each other's voices, because if we can help even one friend, Allison, that you run into who's like, what, you're doing what? And you're able to have that conversation like I had with you and like someone had with Nikki, like we're able to sort of help each other one by one. I feel like I'm doing good work if even one friend of mine can have a more truthful understanding of this, because, these motherfuckers meant to do this to us. I talk about this more.
I will tell you what, they are coming for our hormones.
They are.
Clearly.
They will get there.
They're gunning through trans folk. They're going to get, because we're already like tons of hormones are being denied to trans folk through insurance, which is the beginning of things being restricted anyway. And a lot of women who are just on regular MHT or HRT, whatever you want to call it, are starting to get those questions. They have to answer a 35-point questionnaire. Like, why do you want this? Who are you? How do you identify? And if you answer anything wrong, and there was no questionnaire before. It was just like, how are you doing? If they were getting that, they should just keep getting it. But we're in a kind of a trippy, like dumbass police state. And I'm fucking tired of it. I'm sick of it. It needs to be done. And I have no more patience. And I feel like how I feel now, and now that I really feel like I'm myself again, like I know what they're afraid of. And you know what? They fucking should be. Because if our generation starts to really like do what we do as musicians and artists and people who love arts and are tuned into pop culture, if we're able to take this and turn it into a movement and really like see all the people we know feel good again and not get hip fucking replacements, or you know what I mean? Like I think a lot could really change, and that gives me hope.
Yeah, it does.
I laugh at just the doom scroll of it all, but like,
we're like changing the world one testosterone prescription at a time.
Snaps. You guys, thank you both so much for spending time on Menopunks podcast today. You're both just such heartthrobs. I'm just in awe of both of you and the things that you do. We will leave links to see what Nikki's doing, to see what Allison is doing within the episode schmagegi below. Any final questions or anything you feel like we didn't address before we say goodbye, Allison?
Nikki, where do you practice? Can I ask?
Portland.
Oh, you're in Portland. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but actually I do telehealth and in person. So anyone who's in Oregon, and I'm working on my Washington license.
Tell me when you're working on California.
Girl, you got to get that. We need all of Cascadia optimized first.
Yes.
So
Cascadia for real. We need Cascadia to happen. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, next episode on Menopunks podcast, how do we secede from the asshole contingent? I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys so much for everything, and talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks,
Alicia.
Thanks for all the information, Nikki. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Nikki.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. You're a rock star, Alicia.
Oh, you're all rock stars. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Are you a Menopunk? For more information about the movie, the Menopunks movement, Menopunks merchandise, and more, go to www.menopunks.com.